Hey guys, hi, my name is Radhey S Baid and I've cleared the RBI Grade B exam 2016. Now I'm making this video today to share a little insight about the third phase or the interview phase of the RBI Grade B exam. So the interview phase of 50 marks and which is an extremely crucial phase because if you see out of 350 marks in total which decides the merit of your case, 50 marks would comprise of the interview. This is that section where if you put minimum efforts, we can get maximum output for sure, provided you do not underestimate the importance of this phase, okay, and do not lose the zeal in the process of preparing for phase 1, phase 2 and then coming on to phase 3, which takes a little time to be conducted. Now if you generally see, the gap between phase 1 and phase 2 is 15 days. And the gap between phase 2 and interview varies anywhere between 20-25 days to even 3 months, okay. So there is enough time to prepare for the interview phase, okay. Now the approach to the preparation of the interview phase has to be very different from that of phase 1 and phase 2. I'll dwell into the detailing of how to approach the preparation in at the later part in the video. Now to start with, the first section I want to deal with is the education and work experience. If you have 60% in your graduation in any field, okay, shed any fear or inhibitions which you might have in regards to your educational background. 60% is more than enough to be eligible, and also in the interview I can assure you that your educational background, be it marine engineering, be it journalism, be it law, be it computer science, anything, it will not pull you down for sure, okay. So just focus on getting more and more marks in phase 2 so that you're pretty safe while you reach interview, and after scoring a good 35 plus in interview, you can make sure that you have secured a good rank in the final list. No insecurity about your educational background, it does not pull you down. Now coming to the work experience, there are a lot of cases where there are people who are freshers or who have work experience. If you have a work experience, there are more chances that the questions asked will be from your work ex instead of your educational qualification. If you're a fresher, there are more chances that the ice breaking or the question asking would be focused more on your educational background. That's all the difference it will make. Marks will not be awarded or your performance will not be pulled down depending on what your educational qualification is or your work experiences. So please do not have any insecurity regarding your work experience. This year we had people from Merchant Navy, SAIL, GAIL and so many other public sector units. There were a few journalists as well. So people from diverse backgrounds have come up to write this exam, which is actually a generalist exam in nature. You do not have to be a pro at finance to crack this exam, okay. It certainly does help, but it is not the only prerequisite to crack this exam. To give up an example, my qualification, I've done my BTech in computer science and diploma in banking and finance. That is my educational qualification, and I've worked with American Express India Private Limited as a relationship care consultant for 2 years, okay. So the question asked to me was on my work experience. Now work experience, not about what I do in office, the details of my job, no. For instance, I used to work for credit cards, American Express corporate credit cards. The acquisition of corporate clients was my forte there. So I was asked who regulates the credit card industry. If a person has a complaint regarding a credit card, whom should he approach? And the standards laid out to be followed while making recoveries for credit card dues, etc. So these were the kind of questions. So your sector in education, you have to be thorough about that. Make sure you can relate it to the current affairs that are going on, and also your work ex. Similarly, you have to relate it to current affairs and also the sector in which you're working. That is more important instead of the nitty-gritty of your job experience. Now whatever I'm discussing in the video today is just not my personal experience, okay. This is what I have come across, I've been exposed to for the last few years while preparing for this exam. in my journey of the preparation when I've met a lot of successful and unsuccessful candidates. So I'm trying to just give you a gist or a moral of the story of the takeaways that you can keep in mind to score a good 35 plus in your interview. Okay, moving on, you need to make sure that before a night of the interview you sleep well, you wear a suit for the interview. Do not underestimate the gravity of the occasion that you have. It is a big deal to present yourself correctly in the interview. Okay, so better be clean shaven, wear a good suit, have a good night's sleep. Presentation becomes very, very important. Okay, moving on, I'll give you a brief about the setting of the interview. It is a small cozy conference room. You sit exactly opposite to the chairman, and towards your right there are two panel members, towards your left there are two panel members. Okay, so it's like a informal sofa type of a setting. It's not a round table conference, right? Now as soon as you get in, you have a eye contact with the chairman. The chairman greets you, makes you sit, makes you feel comfortable. So here 85% of the cases this year and previous years, the panel first try to make the candidate comfortable so that he is in a position to answer and show up the right side of his personality so that they can judge him correctly. Okay, so very few cases are of stress interviews. There are very few cases of stress interviews. So mostly the panel will try to make you feel comfortable while speaking to them. Alright, so don't worry about they being pressurizing you. There's nothing at all. Now moving on, the next pointer that I'll be talking about is the duration of my interview. Yeah, so my interview happened at the Delhi Regional Office of Reserve Bank of India. The duration of my interview was 22 minutes to be precise. Now guys, there is a misconception that if an interview went on long or extremely short, we assume that it was either bad or good. But we have seen cases where interview which happened to be of just 8 minutes, that guy scored 42. Interview which went on for about 30 plus minutes, the person got some 21 or 22. Alright, so there are a lot of cases. So the duration of your interview will not at all judge your performance. So do not be bogged down if your interview goes too long or too short. Don't worry about it. Then coming on to the preparation strategy. Okay, so interview as well, we had a group of 6 to 7 people where we formed a panel where one used to be the person who will be interviewed and the remaining 6 or 7 used to be a panel. So they are interviewing a person. Now make sure that out of your biodata, the one that you are asked to fill once you clear phase 2, you take it extremely seriously. That is the make or break in interview. Okay, so ask your relatives, friends, anybody to frame at least 500 questions out of your biodata. Once you do that, I can assure you that your interview will be more or less on expected lines. It will not spring as a surprise. Alright, then the preparation strategy and the difference between the approach of phase 1, phase 2 and the interview. So for phase 1 and phase 2, let me give you an example. For instance, if we consider demonetization and GST. For phase 1 and phase 2, we study of what is GST, the provisions, the detail and the information that is given for the implementation or provision of GST. So what of GST? Demonetization, what amount of currency was taken out, what was replenished, banks involved, any new mechanisms they came up with, etc., etc. So what happened in demonetization? That is the question that we answer in phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 3 interview, we understand what are the pros and cons of GST, the impact it will have on the lives of people, the changes it will bring to various industries. Similarly, demonetization. Okay, so why, how, analysis, pros, cons. This is what we have to deal with in the interview phase of the examination. Alright, then read at least 2 newspapers once you clear phase 2. One will be Hindu and another a business newspaper. Now a little practical part, let's consider Brexit. Okay, So since the time between phase 2 and interview is very crucial, when you read a newspaper, it gives us reporting. So for instance, they'll report Theresa May said this about Brexit, the opposition leader in Britain commented about Brexit, the European Union commented about Brexit. So this is reporting, this is not needed actually. Okay, so instead jot down the important topics that are in news in the period between phase 2 and interview. Make a list of the topics, and then for every topic Google it and research it in detail, get the pros and cons, see how it impacts people, different industries, business, etc., and get done with the topic, so that time and again every day you don't have to read irrelevant reporting to the topic, and you're able to save your precious time. Okay, then also make sure that you are very thorough with the RBI website while preparing for interview. So a few common questions asked is what are the functions of RBI, what are the different departments of RBI. Okay, so you will get the answer to these questions in the About Us section on the RBI website, which becomes extremely important. And another few questions: why did you leave your current job? I was asked this question. Why do you want to join RBI? Now, while answering this question, why you want to join RBI, all of us have the answer almost on similar lines. We want to serve a social purpose, help the people, etc. It's natural that we will have the same points, but make sure that the reasons you put behind your answer, they should be very strong. Present them with conviction. Make sure that you give a logical argument to whatever you say. Now, whatever questions you're being asked in the interview, make it more of a discussion instead of a question and an answer. The reason being, whatever you utter in the interview, the next question, there are only two ways that the next question pops up in an interview. One will be from your biodata, or second, whatever you said in the previous answer, something will be picked up and you'll be questioned about it. So be very planned and careful about what you speak in the interview. If you do not know something, you can very politely decline to answer, and you can very clearly say that, sorry sir, I'm not aware of it, so that you save yourself embarrassment, because they'll take a minute to catch you, just in case if we try to fake an answer or we try to show off that we know something which we do not actually. Okay, but in general the panel is very royal, cordial, respectful. Okay, so there will not be a moment where they'll push you or stress you. They want to get the best out of you, so you can be pretty comfortable, and just make sure that you do not underestimate this phase. Okay, prepare well for the interview. It is a very important phase of the exam. Moving on, the biodata, which is the most important part. Now let me deal with the biodata. In the biodata, there are three most important sections. One which will ask you about your hobbies, interests and achievements. Okay, so this hobbies, interests and achievements are a chance given to you where you can make your profile stand unique. If you do not have any of those, that's fine, but if you have, make sure you mention them so that you can leverage these factors that you have in your personality. Okay, now for instance, a person wrote cooking, playing cricket or music in their hobby. Guys, make sure that you know at least the basics of your interest, because there was question asked about cooking, how do you cook, basic, and the person who wrote cooking as a hobby fumbled on it. It came out to be a disaster, right? So do not just write anything to make an impression or just for the sake of it, but present yourself truly. Okay, this is what I mean. And these will be the icebreakers. Your interview most likely will start with your hobby, interests or achievements. Interests, hobby are a chance given to you where you can direct your interview towards the way you want it. Okay, so for instance, in my interest, I had written international relations and political affairs. Now when I wrote international relations as my interest, question asked to me was about Brexit and the election of Donald Trump. They were hot topics then, and my interview went on very expected lines the way I had prepared, right? So make sure that you use these places wisely so that you can direct your interview well. Moving on to achievements. If you're writing you've played state level cricket, you're writing you've played some high level of badminton or anything, make sure that you're well versed with the basics of the game at least, and you know how all of that works, because you don't want to screw up your strong areas. Okay, so overall interview is not a random conversation, I can guarantee you that. It is a very logical flow of thoughts. So the possible areas of questions being asked is education, work experience, hobbies, interest, achievements, your hometown, as in what are the important places in your hometown, areas to visit nearby, etc. These things. Okay, these are the areas where you will be asked questions on. Now, don't be worried about what was asked to other people, okay, because it is very subjective. They were asked those different questions because they had that kind of a background. Alright, for you the preparation can be very narrow. Just keep in mind your biodata, your background, and prepare accordingly. Do not run up and down asking people what was asked, what not was asked, because every interview is different depending on their background and profile. But trust me, if you frame 500 questions out of your biodata, you will not be surprised by your interview. It will be more or less on expected lines. Yeah, so more or less I've covered all the pointers on interview. Okay, now apart from this, if you have any more questions, sure, you can put your questions in the comment below. I'll try to cover up in the next video, or maybe whenever I see you guys next. Thank you so much again for your very precious time. I hope it helps, and looking forward to see you guys again. Take care, all the very best, work very hard, and finish it by cracking it this year itself. Do not wait, put in all you got. Thank you guys.